Good evening, my name's Justin. I play guitar on songs in Nashville. Welcome to my channel. I wanted to talk tonight about the basics of slide guitar. So basic that we're not even really going to get into playing slide. We're going to talk about two things that you need to decide before you start playing. Number one, which finger are you going to use? And I feel like I have a pretty strong argument for the finger I use based on human anatomy. And number two, what kind of slide do you want to use? What size and shape and material are you into? I've got a lot of them here that I'll talk about briefly. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I have a lot of useful information on this channel. My entire goal is to help musicians, to help guitar players really become the kinds of musicians that other musicians want to play with. I feel like it's really easy for guitar players to focus on scales and solos, and that translates to how you play music with other musicians. You just sort of play rhythm until it's your turn to solo, and then you step on a boost that makes you 12 dB louder, and everyone's like, good night. There's just something about the guitar and being able to noodle by yourself for hours that can lend to you being a little self-indulgent when you're playing with a band. Just a little. So the goal of this channel is to help people be better team players, learn how to listen, learn how to play music, and not just like licks. You can find a million licks from loads of other YouTube channels. I just want to talk about music and playing songs on guitar. I've built a career out of it, so that's what I'm here to do. I think a lot of you watching this video right now might be brand new to the channel. This might be your second or third video. I've had a couple of recent videos that just blew up, which, thank you. Thanks for subscribing. Welcome if you're new. This might be the second or third thing you're ever seeing from me. So I just want to say thanks if you're new here, and let's dig into the video. Number one, which finger should you use to play slide guitar? I think there are examples of famous guitar players who use every finger, or there's good examples for each finger, I want to say. Starting from the pinky and working our way up to the index finger, pinky sliders. Sonny Landreth is a pinky slider. Joey Landreth is a pinky slider. Ry Cooder is a pinky slider. He's like one of my favorite musicians, period. Ring finger guys, off the top of my head, Derek Trucks is a ring finger slider, and Blake Mills is a ring finger slider. Middle finger guys, I want to say Joe Walsh plays slide on his middle finger, and I think Ronnie Wood plays slide on his middle finger. And then index finger guys, is Billy Gibbons an index finger guy? Or is Ronnie Wood an index finger guy? One of them's index and one of them's middle. I think they're both middle, but Billy might be an index finger guy. Well, I'm a ring finger guy, and here is why. My argument for playing with a ring finger is based on human anatomy, okay? So slide guitar, the way that you play it is your hand isn't really moving and changing positions and doing all these things the way it grips and positions itself around the neck when you're playing without a slide. You're largely like this, and a lot of the movement comes from your elbow and your shoulder as you slide up and down the neck. When you get to a place where you're doing vibrato, it's coming from your elbow, a little bit from your wrist, but for the most part, there's not a lot of motion all the way to the elbow. The elbow is kind of what's steering the ship, so to speak. Maybe I'm doing it wildly wrong, but that's how it is for me. And when I watch other people, I think they're doing it that way too. So here's the reason I'm a ring finger slider. Because of so much motion comes from your elbow and your shoulder, your ring finger is in line with the forearm bone that everybody has called the ulna. You have two bones in your forearm. You have a radius and an ulna. I've got my index finger of my right hand on my left ulna right now. The beautiful thing about your ulna is no matter if you're pronating or supinating your wrist, no matter how you turn, it doesn't move, right? You notice how it's not moving at all? My index finger is not really going anywhere. It's staying stuck on my ulna. Your radius is the one that moves, and that's where it gets its name. It radiates around your ulna. It turns as you move this, okay? Well, being a ring finger slider, I think can give you more control early on. Maybe even later on, you know? Maybe just more control in general. Because you are playing on the finger that is directly in line with the ulna, which is anchored to your elbow and doesn't move no matter how you turn your hand, okay? I just feel like it's a better way to anchor because so much motion comes from so far away from the fretboard, right? You are basically, with a slide, you're not on the fretboard, you're above the fretboard, right? You're on this frictionless surface. You might as well be ice skating. And that's what makes it so hard. And then all the movement and the control, you know, it's not your wrist, it's not like you're locking your wrist up or locking your fingers up, but they're pretty stationary. And a lot of the movement, again, comes from your elbow and your shoulder, okay? So, to anchor yourself the best, you know, to have the best opportunity for anchoring yourself and getting a good feel for it, try your ring finger, okay? Again, there are people who are far better slide guitar players than I am who use a different finger, particularly the pinky guys. Those Landreth guys are amazing, right? And I'm terrible with a pinky slide. I've tried it, and I'm going to keep working on it because I want to not be terrible. But I think if you're new to slide, which, you know, that's kind of the whole reason I'm making this video. If you're new, or if you've played for a long time but it still sounds terrible, that's okay to admit. I was that way for a very long time. You know, I think maybe switching to the ring finger might give you a little bit better control and stability as you figure out how to cleanly articulate notes with a slide on the string. You can't push so hard that you fret the notes, you know. That's not going to sound good unless you're Derek Trucks and you do that on purpose, but the way he does it is an incredibly advanced technique that we're not going to get into. And you don't want to be so light that you're not actually sounding the note out clearly, okay? So, I'm a ring finger guy, and the second decision, so you need to make that decision, right? What finger are you going to use? What finger guy are you going to be? Are you going to be a ring finger guy or girl? Are you going to be a pinky slider, middle finger slider? Make that decision. Then decide, what slide are you going to use? You know, do you like the smaller ones with the thin walls? Do you like really honkin' slides? Do you like metal? Do you like glass? Do you like pyrex? Do you like ceramic? As with most things in the guitar gear world, there's a lot of options and it can be sort of paralyzing, right? So I have a bunch of them here. I'm just going to go through most of these briefly. This is a ceramic slide. This is the Joe Perry Boneyard. This is my favorite slide that I never, ever play. Almost never. It sounds good. It's big. It has a thick wall to it. I like all of those things. I like a bigger slide, you know. I just feel like I get more mass. The mass of a bigger slide, I feel like I get more sustain out of that, if that makes sense. I play light strings and low action, so it's hard for me to get a lot of sustain by pressing down on the strings and like having a nice forceful contact. I have to be really light in my right hand because of the way that I play and because of the way my guitars are set up. I could have set one guitar up with really high action and made it my slide guitar, but as a session player, I want to have multiple options for the tone when I play slide, you know? So I want to be able to play slide on my Jazzmaster, on my Strat, on my 335, on my Tele, on a baritone, on an acoustic, on any Les Paul, you know? I want all those options available for the tone, right? And the feel. I don't want to have to reach for my one slide guitar. Oh wait, you want slide? I got to play the one guitar that I have that's set up for it. I don't want to do that. And since everything's set up with low action and light strings, it was kind of hard to get it going early on for me, but now I do okay. All right, so the Boneyard ceramic, it sounds good. By the way, I'm in standard tuning. I'm running into the Analog Outfitter Sarge into my aux box because it's after 10 o'clock, and the aux is set on a, I don't know, it's like a Pro Reverb cab, I believe. So I'm in standard tuning. This is what I'm going to play with the slide. It sounds pretty good. I should use it more. Ceramic guy, right? There's also glass. And modern glass isn't usually really glass. It's mostly pyrex, especially if you get your slides from Planet Waves or Jim Dunlop. I think those are pyrex instead of glass, like real glass. And they have a bit of a darker sound to them. I think they sound really good. This is a blues bottle. I have a love-hate relationship with it. It's got a thin wall. It's brighter and clearer than my favorite slide, but the closed end and my fat knuckle ends up sealing my finger in here, and then it just starts to sweat. And then my callus gets softened. And I don't know. I just don't like it. But I feel like I play okay with it, you know. But then I go to take it off and it's like really, I don't know, my finger's just kind of damp. It might be so annoying to me because I have insanely dry hands. My wife hates it. My guitars love it. So any sort of moisture feels unnatural to me. And when I have my finger inside of a closed-end slide, it just gets a little moist and I don't like it. So this is a really cool slide. This is a Furious slide. It's titanium. Titanium is notoriously difficult to polish, but I had a buddy polish it because, you know, what prevented me from using this a lot, it's really cool in the right situation. Really cool. It's a noisy slide. It has a lot, the surface is not polished very well, so it has a lot of that rattle, you know? Like if you want to just hang out on a couple of notes, it does that really well. But you can, I mean, it's got some noise to it, you know? And that's really cool, especially on acoustic. I tend to want that kind of noise on a dirty acoustic slide track, you know. If I'm trying to fake a dobro, then I'm going to use a really clean sounding slide, you know. But for sometimes I'm just playing these couple wound strings. I'm just having this sort of pad behind the track of like a rattle, you know. And this is amazing for that. Furious slides, very cool. I bought Joey Landreth's signature slide. And you know what? I can't play like him, so I'm going to send it back. I'm kidding, kind of. I'm frustrated by this thing. I'm so terrible with a slide on my pinky. I don't know why, but probably because I've never practiced it. So I guess I do know why. I do like the way this slide is designed. It's really cool. The wall to the slide is really thin on the side that you put your finger into. And it's got this sort of notch cut out. So that you're able to bend it at that knuckle. If it were to fall all the way down to the base of your finger's kind of trapped inside and is unable to bend. But here you can still kind of use that finger, hold it out of the way. You've got all three of your other fingers in a row, able to play, you know. I'm really bad about getting it out of the way. I'm used to it being on my ring finger, right? I bet if I sat and did this for a couple hours, and I did that a few times a week, or maybe even just 15 minutes a day, every single day, I would get okay at it. I'm not great at it. And, you know, I'm used to anchoring on my ring finger because it's in line with my forearm. Like, it feels right all the way up to here to be a ring finger slider for me. So, really cool slide. I also bought the Tyler Bryant rock slide, and it's got some of the same features as Joey's. It's got this nice cutout for your knuckle, and the walls are a little thinner on this side and a lot thicker down here. So the slide kind of hugs your fingertip as your finger tapers to a tip. You know, most people's fingers taper a bit at least. The slide tapers internally with it, and then it too has this flat spot, so you can help anchor with the finger next to it, right? So this one sounds good. I actually really like this a lot. This feels very comfortable. Yeah, I like that a lot. It feels good. It feels natural. It hugs my finger a little tighter than I like. Again, that makes my finger feel a little moist, and I hate that because I have insanely dry hands. So, I have another metal slide. This is it's got the width that I like. It's heavy, so it's got the mass, which leads to the sustain that I like. So it's a little different than my main slide, but I break it out every once in a while. Really great sounding slide. I should play it more. I have an actual coricidin bottle. This was given to me by Dan Strain, the guy who makes Danacasters. And I went to his house. He built me that Jazzmaster. And he said, you know what? It's no pressure. If you don't like it, any one of my dealers will take it. And I played one note through it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm taking it. And so I was sitting there playing it through his deluxe reverb, and there was a slide sitting on top of the amp, and I picked it up and I started playing slide on it, and and he was like, you know, you take, if you buy the guitar, you can take the slide too. And I was looking at it, and it's got the markings of a real. I suspected it was real because the edges are very subtly not uniform. Okay, like it's real glass. And it has the little W with a circle in it, and it's got the it says 22 underneath it. And old coricidin bottles, coricidin was a medicine, and it had a label that was inside the bottle, and they were like powdery pills, had a white rubber cap on it. Dwayne Allman started using it as a slide for slide guitar, and it became his thing. And now they're really expensive. Like the ones that command the most money have the original label and the lid and everything. This didn't, and Dan just gave it to me. I was like, man, okay. I said they're kind of expensive for a slide, you know. And he goes, man, I never use it. If you buy the guitar, you can have the slide. I was like, all right. So I have an old coricidin bottle that I use every once in a while. But again, it's a closed-in slide, and it makes my finger feel moist after it's been in there for a while. I hate that feeling as much as some people hate the word moist. So, what have I not picked up? My favorite. This is an extra large Planet Waves. It's a thick-walled, long, extra large slide. And it sounds awesome. And it has tons of sustain. That's from the mass because it's big and it has a thick wall to it. It's heavy. And again, I can't press down on the notes a lot, but I can get sustain from the slide itself. Yeah, I mean, I'm just so used to playing ring finger. And look at this. That slide, like Joey's pinky slide, fits completely inside of my favorite ring finger slide. So obviously we approach this very differently, but I'm going to use this. I'm going to get better at it. I'm also going to put out another video that has to do with slide guitar playing that I feel can help beginners, you know. It'll help you get the hang of it to the point that you can enjoy playing, you know. Slide is one of those things, it's like playing violin or, you know, pedal steel or anything fretless. It's either great or it's completely terrible. It's so hard to listen to out-of-tune slide playing, and it's so hard to play slide in tune, right? So there's a handful of things that I think can help people get to the point where they can start playing great sounding slide. So that'll be in the next video. Thanks for hanging out. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. I will see you all soon. Bye.